Good morning, everybody. Oh, bit chilly willy down here, a bit nippy down in Kent today. How's everybody doing? Hopefully I've got my connection and the sound hopefully is all okay. The lovely Jilly will be in the room with you this morning. So fingers crossed everything is all okay. Tuesday again, groovy Tuesday even. So let's have a look. Where are we going today? Oh yes, Snippety snip. Ooh, that sounds fun, doesn't it? Oh, how are we all? We all okay? Good morning. There's some lovely ladies in the room already. The lovely Hilda, Sheila. Good morning, Annette, Susan. Hello and welcome. Oh, thank you for joining me again this week. Oh, yes, definitely a bit frosty down here. It's nice and sunny, but it's really, really frosty and cold. So just wait for the all clear from the lovely Jilly. Jilly will be in the room with you this morning shortly. So if you've got any questions or you don't know where to find anything, then she'll be there to help. So I'm just waiting for can everybody hear me? Anybody there? I'm sure Jilly will come in. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Oh, I do love a Tuesday morning. It's a real, it feels like, sometimes it feels like Tuesday is the first day of the week, if that sort of makes sense. And it's lovely, and it's nice to see so many lovely, friendly names in the room as well. It just really makes it all worthwhile. So I'm hoping you can hear me and I'm not just waffling on. So how have you all been doing? All good? All getting in the groove? What did you think of those plates from Linda Williams last week at the one-day special? Weren't they gorgeous? That wardrobe was just absolutely magical. It really, really was. I think I've got the all clear. Sound is good from Jilly. Thank you, Jilly. So Jilly is in the room. So if you've got any questions over the course of the next hour, then just ask away. If you're looking for anything or you're not sure about something, I know we've got some of the lovely design team in the room. So they'll be happy to help as well. It's such a friendly place to be, and it's all about staying home and crafting, safe, happy and creative. That Barb started over a year ago, and it's just absolutely crazy that a whole year, what a year it's been. But again, light at the end of the tunnel, the sun's shining, so I think it's all good. Okay, and breathe. So where are we going today? As I said last week, I thought what we'd have a go with that. We've been working with the beautiful butterflies, haven't we, from that beautiful butterfly reef. And there's so much to it when you look at the actual design. For me, it's a classic design because you've got this beautiful, the flowers, you've got the butterfly. And last week we completed our lovely little coaster. And so I thought what we'd have a go at is a little bit of snipping, because we've done a little bit of white work, we've done a little bit of colouring, we've done a couple of different techniques with the colouring over the past 4 weeks. We're on week 11 now, past 11 weeks. So we've done a little white work, we introduced the basic grids, and there's so much you can do with the basic grids. So last week we was embossing or perforating, and I thought what we'd have a go at this week is combining both together. And I know Picot cutting won't be for everyone, and you'll think, oh, I really don't want to do it. I don't. So what I've done, I've come up with some alternatives. So if you're thinking Picot cutting's not for me, then that's absolutely fine, because what we're going to build up to, you can do the Picot cutting or you can do without the Picot cutting. So it's all about giving you choices. And again, it doesn't matter whether you've gone for the little one or you've gone with the large one, because it's the same design, just in a different size. Okay. So I thought what we'd do, we'd have a look at some little bits I've prepared, just so you could get an idea of where we're heading. So I was having a sort of play, and I took my inspiration from the lovely Glynis, who did a fantastic step-by-step on the Clarity Matters blog a couple of weeks ago. So we've got choices, okay, and I will come in on the closer camera so you can sort of see the difference. So if you're not into your Picot cutting, then what we can have a look at is building up our design. You know how last week I was showing you how we can create beautiful designs just by using those basic grids, and this was something that Glynis did in that blog tutorial. So this is just a case of embossing and perforating, and what I've done, because it's such a easy design, you can just use normal scissors to cut out, and what we can do with that, we can then add some sort of depth to our card as well. So this is for someone that thinks, right, don't want to do the Picot cutting, then this would be your alternative option. Then if you want to have a go at practicing your Picot cutting, for me personally, I found that, look, I made a little boo-boo, I caught it on something, I dropped it on the floor, picked it up, and it snipped away a little bit there. Anyway, so this is where we combine the perforating and the little crosses. And for me, that was a good way of learning how to do the Picot cutting, because it really taught me where I needed to position my scissors, and it's more forgiving if you go wrong, if that sort of makes sense. So this is sort of, I would say, that the middle task, because again, I've practiced with my Picot cutting in the middle, and then I've just used the normal scissors to cut the butterfly out. Now, if you find that you get on really well with the Picot cutting, then this would be your other option. So what we've done here is we've combined, so we've done the little crosses in the middle, and then we've Picot cut around the butterfly to give it that really nice fancy edge. So as we go through the course of this hour, we're going to do different things, and obviously we're not going to go straight in. We're going to sort of warm up, and we're going to have a go, we're going to practice, because again, remember, we always have that scrap piece of parchment to hand. Then it's a good thing to practice on first. I mean, if I start my Picot cutting, I never go in cold. It's sort of like, I do a warm-up exercise, so I'll do a row of perforations, and I just get my hand warmed up to get into that sequence. So for me personally, I find that that works better, because when I start practicing, my Picot cutting can be a bit rubbish, and then as my hand warms up, it gets better. So we can have a little practice as well, but that really was just to show you the end result and where we're sort of heading for the course of this hour and possibly the next hour. Okay, so what we're going to need for this particular project, let me just pop these little butterflies to one side. We're going to need our plate mate, which comes in the starter kit, whichever size you've gone for, the large or the small. We're going to need our lovely butterfly wreath. Look, I'll put them to one side. So we're going to need our butterfly wreath. We are also going to need our basic grid. This is the straight grid. Previously we worked with the diagonal, didn't we, to infill that butterfly. Where's that little butterfly that we infilled the other week? There we go. Remember, we use the diagonal to create this type of effect. So we're going to need that. Groovi guard is key, really good for leaning on. We are also going to need our super foam if you're using your light panel, and if you're not using the light panel, then you'd need your super foam and some Picot foam. Exciting news about this, which I may reveal later if you all behave, but I digress. We're going to need our number 1 tool from the starter kits, because it's got no stylus on the end. And then for me, to start off with, we're going to go with the 1 needle bowl tool for our perforating. And then if you're going to give the Picot cutting a go, we're going to go with our weapons of choice. And I will go into a little bit more depth explaining these a little bit later on. But we have the exclusive scissors, which are Barb's favourites. And then for me, I jump between the Perforating cutters, which are little, or squizzers, as I call them, and also the ring lock. Okay, and I'll show you exactly how they all work during the course of this hour. So that's just to give you a little heads up on what we're going to need. Oh, and obviously some parchment. Okay, so this is where we're heading during the course of this hour. So I'll give you a few minutes to get all the bits and pieces together. And whilst we're doing that, I want to show you this beautiful piece of artwork which we came across. Julie was having a tidy up and she found this beautiful piece of artwork by Linda Page. So Linda's created a beautiful picture frame and she's taken various different butterflies from our collection. So this one is one of Tila's Butterfly Fun, and you can see she's created this beautiful montage of butterflies. Absolutely gorgeous. So again, not just for card making. Let me bring it in just to show you in a little bit more depth. Hopefully I can get that. But look at that. So we've got the depth to them as well. And this is sort of where we're heading at, whether we go for one of these ones down here or one of the smaller ones. But when you look at the actual designs of the butterflies, and we've got so many beautiful butterflies out there, you can have a play and build up something as exquisite as this. As I say, this was done by the lovely Linda Page, and for me, butterflies and parchment are just hand in hand. They really are. And to have a little masterpiece like this, and again, it's got that beautiful design of parchment in the background, so it doesn't need to have any colour. It's just the beautiful elegance of it all. So I wanted just to show you that before we got started on why you was getting all your bits and pieces together. So I think I'll just have a sip of coffee. Okie dokie. Right, so to start off with, we're going to start with our plate mate. Are we all ready? Have we got all our bits and pieces together? I know some people at home just like to watch and then watch it on YouTube later, which is absolutely fine. It's all about sort of keeping you all company, and it's nice to see all the messages sort of flicker up on the side. And then I know that there's somebody out there, at least there's somebody sort of watching. So we're going to start off with our plate mate. We'll start with the top, keeping it the same as like what we normally do. And what I want to do first, again, it's the same as I've always done since we've been going along. I'm going to pop the Groovi plate into the plate mate. Then, just to keep it nice and simple, because this is going to be our practice piece, what we're going to do, as always, is attach it to the width of our plate mate. And why do we do that? We do it so that if we make a mistake or we miss a bit, it's easy to line it back up again. And we know if we come back to it in a day or so, that's exactly where we need to line it up. So it's the same width and it's the same depth as the actual plate itself. So we're going to tape that down. We're going to take our tumble dry sheet as normal, give it a little wipe over. And all we want to do, remember when we did the coaster the other week, we just want to trace the outline of the butterfly. We don't need to worry about the inside of it. And see, for me, this is what's great about the Groovi system, being to have that flexibility to be able to pick ooh, where did that voice go? The flexibility of picking and choosing different elements. So, are we ready? Okie dokie. So I'm going to take the number 1 tool and I'm just going to trace out very slowly the outline of the butterfly, and I'm just going to come in to pick up and separate out the top and the bottom wings. Okay, then we'll trace out the body. See, I don't really think about what sequence I do this in, because I know what I want is to have the body and just the wings. See, and again with the Groovi system, you can either come towards you or you can push away, whatever you feel more comfortable doing. Okay, so just come in on this one into the center of that wing to bring it into the body, and then complete the bottom half of that lovely wing. Okay, so now when we lift this up and we turn it over, we've now got the outline of our lovely little butterfly. Okay, and this is exactly what we did when we created that coaster the other week. So again, it's giving you the outline. I mean, if you was to do this on coloured parchment and you don't want to do anything else to it, then you could just cut it out with a normal pair of scissors and you could easily replicate what the lovely Linda's done in that picture frame. So again, that's why I say at this stage there's no skill required whatsoever. It's all about just getting comfortable creating the line art. So now that we've done that, what we want to do now is emboss the patterns. So before we go on to our actual piece that we're going to work on, I'm going to pop that to one side. And you may think, oh, it's going to use another piece of parchment. It's a piece of parchment. I'm going to pop that to one side, and all I'm going to do, I'm just going to replicate, but I'm just going to do one wing. Okay, because the one wing is going to be the area in which we practice on. And I think it's a good idea, especially when you're using a basic grid, to practice before you go in. I mean, at the end of the day, that took us minutes, didn't it, just to do the butterfly. So if you did go wrong, then it's not the end of the world. So for this one, all I'm going to do is trace out the large wing. Okay, now if you've got a scrap of parchment rather than use a whole piece, then that's entirely up to you. But if you're doing it the same width again, then it will help when we come to do the embossing of the dots and the perforating, because again, it's all about lining up and the positioning. Now, as I said, for me last week, I prefer, when I'm working with a design like this, to do my embossing first, because for me, I found that if I'm embossing a pattern and I'm having to count, which is what we're going to do for this piece, is that if I emboss in the wrong place, and I did it on some of those pieces this morning because I wasn't concentrating or I lost count, I can correct it when I come to do the perforating. However, if I've perforated first, I can't seal a hole back up, but I can definitely hide an embossed dot. Okay, and I'll show you that when we have a play and a practice, just to say that if you go wrong and you think, oh, I've got to start all again, you haven't, unless you've gone really, really wrong. But then you just adapt it, don't you? You just go with the flow and you design it yourself. So I'm going to take my straight grid, my straight basic grid, and again, we've got these in both sizes. So if you've gone for the little mini starter kit, they're also, look, the dinky little ones. Ooh, look, I'm getting all stuck up on my Groovi tabs. So if you've got the mini starter kit, then you've got the little ones, and if you've gone for the main starter kit, then you've got the large ones. Okie dokie. So again, I'm just popping the word Groovi at the top that I can read. I mean, with the basic grids, they're drilled holes, so it doesn't really matter what side you pop it in because the hole goes all the way through. Then what I'm going to do with my practice piece, and it was that way around, wasn't it? Because that was that top wing. All I'm going to do now is basically I could have just left it attached to the plate mate, and then when I pop that plate in, it's in the plate. I mean, you may need to just wiggle it around a little bit. It depends how precise you want it to be, but you know what, it doesn't have to be precise. That's what I love about this. I'm going to take my Groovi guard just to focus on the area within the middle. Okay, just grab a sip of coffee because I can feel my voice drying out. There we go. And I'm going to start anywhere in this. What I want to do is create a series of 4 dots together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now, if you've got the light panel, and we do those in both sizes. We've got the large light panel, we've got the smaller one. So again, budget and depending on the size you're working on. That would help to illuminate underneath, but I'm well lit here, so I can sort of see what I'm doing. Famous last words. Then what I'm going to do, I can go in any direction, but I need to miss the next 4 dots. So 1, 2, and then 3. So we're creating blocks of 4s. So we're missing 4, and then we're embossing 4. Now when we come over here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm just going to do that bottom one because I'm not going to get, there's not enough room within that line. Then I'm going to come over this way and I'm going to do those 4. And once you get your eye in, what you'll find it's easier. So I'm going to drop down and we're sort of creating like a checkerboard. And we're just going to take our time and we're just going to infill with a series of 4 dots. Okay. You see how it's starting to take shape already. And once the initial bit is just getting that first one in play first. And then I'm going to make a mistake on this pattern just so that you can see how to correct it if you go wrong. But just to start off with, we're just going to repeat that pattern throughout. And it's just a case of going slowly. There's no rush. We're just going to take our time. Okay. Now I'm going to leave that. And then we're going to come in underneath. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a mistake on the next row. So let me hold this up so you can see to the side where we're heading. I'm going to grab a piece of card. So if I pop that underneath, then hope so you can see now how we're starting to build up that design. Now you can do this with a series of 4s or you can do it bigger. It depends on the image in which you're working and how much you want to fill it with the design. Okay. So take that piece of card out, otherwise we won't get any dots embossed. We're going to go to the top. So it's just a series of 4 and I'm using the number 2 tool to emboss the dots. If I was to use the number 1, what would happen, because it doesn't have that little ball on the end, it would actually puncture the parchment, and we really don't want to do that. Now I'm going to miscount and I'm going to put 2 dots in that area there, and then I'm going to show you again, if you missed last week, how you can correct this. So I'm going to pop along and just complete that pattern. And really this is quite sort of you need to think about what you're doing. But if you're doing this at home, you're probably not going to be talking to anyone whilst you're doing it like I am. I mean, I could be talking to nobody, but I'm sure there's people out there having a go. See, and we just go along until we start to hit the outside of wing of the butterfly. I'm going to pop one there, and I'm going to have a look as we go down, and then we can complete the pattern. So it's all about taking your time and enjoying it as well. And again, at the end of the day, it's a piece of parchment. And I keep saying that because it really is. Some people get worried, even when sort of stamping, I've seen it myself, and they think, oh, it's a white piece of card, where do I get started? And it's magical when you can take something like a clear piece of parchment with a couple of beautiful design plates and now turn it into magic. You really can. And it's, for me, it's all about the Groovi system on what that's done. So I think I'm happy with my embossed dots, obviously apart from that little mistake I made there on purpose. So now if I turn this over, whoops, we can see now how we've created that design. Okay, and don't worry about those sort of random little dots there, because they're all going to fall in within the actual design of our butterflies. And I'm probably looking at this area here, I'm probably thinking, oh, I wonder whether I could get away with another row of dots just in there. I reckon I might. So again, the key of having it attached is I can pop it back in, and yeah, see, I missed those two little dots there, and there was plenty of room for me to infill those as well. So when we turn this over now, we've got our complete piece. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to do some perforating to infill. That perforating is then going to correct the little mistake we made when we was doing the embossing. So to do that, I'm not going to use the light panel. So I'm going to bring in my super foam there, and then I'm going to take my Picot foam on top. Now, if I was using my light wave panel, I wouldn't need the Picot foam because the light would illuminate through that. Let me just show you. Let's see if I've got it switched on. Let me just switch on my light panel underneath, he says. Let me just climb under the desk. There we go. Light panel, make sure it's the right one. Yeah, okie doke. So this is the larger light panel, and say we do a smaller one as well. So again, I know a lot of people at home that have been doing this for a while, oops, he says, putting his bald head in the way, have this one, the large one, for when they're sort of working at home, and then they have the smaller one if they're going out to classes or they're traveling. They do need to be connected into the mains. You've got a micro USB, so you can run it off your computer to power it. A lot of the ladies at home have those battery packs, so it's entirely up to you. Now, the light panel, I'm going to go onto the camera 3 because it shows up better on this. Now it has 3 different, oops, okay, going down here. We've got a button here, and it's sort of like touch activated, and you've got 3 different levels of lightness. Okay, so that means depending on the environment you're working in, you can control the brightness, and then touching it 4 takes it off completely. So for me personally, when I'm working at home, I have it on the brightest light, and if I take my grid and I pop that into place there, so now for me I get a better illumination because I've got the light underneath. I know it might be a little bit difficult for you to see at home, especially if it's not in the right place. If I come in on the overhead, there we go, we can sort of see that. So you can see perfectly clearly now where I've done the embossing of the dots. But it also makes it easier for me when I come to do the perforating, because I can see the light coming through all of those drilled holes. So it's just another option, and it just depends on how far you want to go. So for ease, as I said, because not everyone at home has got the light panel, I'm going to stick with the Picot foam on top. See, because on here I've got no idea where those holes are at all. So if I take my Picot foam, pop that on there. See, now even you at home hopefully can see where all those little dots are. I'm going on that camera. Okay. Now remember, when we come to do the perforating, we perforate from the front. So I'm going to lift off my parchment. I'm then going to take my tabs and flip my parchment over. So again, now if I line this up, so it's lined up, excuse my head for a moment, so it's lined up with the side of the plate, it's lined up top and bottom. This was another reason why I used a whole piece of parchment, just to show you, because I'm keeping it in the same position as I normally would, and what that means is that those dots are lined up perfectly as well. So if you're new to it and you think, ooh, okay, I'm going to struggle to reline it back up, if you keep it in that same position, it can help you just get started until you get confident in how to get the lining up. Okay, so I'm happy that that is in the right position. Yep. So now we're going to do some perforating. So number one, bold needle tool. All of our grids, or the A5 and A5 square and the A6 square, are all based on a bold needle. Okay. Now, as you get confident, and depending on the area you want to perforate, then you could go with the 2 needle tool or the 4 needle. So the 4 needle will work perfectly, and it's just one lot of perforation because it'll do all 4 to start off with. But I quite like the going in and out like a sewing machine. I mean, Josie really is a sewing machine with a perforating needle. It's just like she's on full speed ahead when she's doing it. But we're going to take that nice and slowly. So I've got my Groovi guard, and again I can concentrate because I've got the apertures within the Groovi guard. It just gives me that focus. And again, don't forget, this is the piece we're practicing on. So we're going to hold the tool upright, and then we're going to perforate in between each of the embossed dots. And it's really therapeutic, especially when you hear that sound. It's just like the snipping, when you're snipping and you hear that snip for the first time. So we're just going to perforate in between each of those. Now I'm going to stay away from that straight line. Okay, and we're going to just continue into those spaces. Now if you're not sure whether you're going to go too close to the edge, then don't perforate it. I reckon yeah, just about got away with that. Now, do you remember this area here where I went wrong, where I've got a series of 6 embossed dots? These 2 were the mistake. So what I can do is actually perforate, and that embossed dot disappears. See? So for me, that's why I do my embossing first. So if I do make a mistake with my pattern, then I can correct it with the 1 needle bold tool. Whereas if I've done my perforating first and I put a hole in the wrong place, then that's it. I'd have to adjust my pattern for that. So it's just a case of going along So this is going to be my practice piece that we're going to work on. But as you get comfortable, again, it's like anything. You sort of, sometimes if you're going to start to craft, you need to sort of have a bit of a play before, a bit of a warm up, rather than going cold. And then once you warm up, sometimes the creative juices flow a little more better, rather than going, right, I'm going to do this, I've got this to make, I've got that to make. Where even if I'm stamping as well, I always mock it up first to see what it looks like onto a scrap of paper. But maybe that's just me. What do? Do you go in straight away, or do you sort of have a play first just to warm up? I suppose it's sort of like, apparently if you go to the gym, before you start doing any exercise, you're meant to warm up, apparently. Can't say a gym's ever appealed to me. But we're just gonna go along and just go with the flow. And it is so relaxing. And then some of them will just have a series of 3 perforations. Now I'm not going to do that one. I was a bit hesitant there because it was a little bit too close to that edge. And it's the same process. All we're doing is replacing the embossing with perforating. And I quite like the effect. Even before doing any Picot cutting before, I love the effect of the crossover between the embossing and the perforating together, and it makes a really nice pattern without adding any colour whatsoever. Now, if I hold this closely enough, can you see where I made the mistake? Okay? See? So it's a really clever way. The needle, bold needle tool is great if you've made a mistake with your embossing. Nice. And that's just one little wing that we've done. And you can do this on flowers, you can do it on borders, you can do it on frames. Again, there's so much use to these grids, and they work so well together with other grids that we've got on the website. Okay, so did you enjoy that? Should we give it a go in our actual butterfly? Some of you may have already gone straight to your butterfly. It just depends on the level in which you're at on that bus journey. So I thought we'd just break it down and we'd just do one wing, so that if time did run out, it's easier then. And this piece of parchment, I'll come back to it again. I'll maybe use it for testing my colouring on, but I could put a note on here to say, right, this is where you went wrong because you embossed the pattern in the wrong place. So it's all about building up that little portfolio of little tips and tricks and saying, right, I went wrong here. I mean, Barb said it yesterday, you learn more when you make a mistake, because if you make that mistake, then you think, right, I went wrong. Why did I go wrong? Whereas if you just do it without thinking about it, and it happens, sometimes it's like being on that bus journey. It's not really a journey, is it? So I'm going to bring my, where's my butterfly flown off to? There it is. So we're going to do our embossing first. So again, we're working on the back of the parchment, and we're going to position it exactly as well. And we're going to build around this one. We'll decide whether we're going to cut out, but it's just about getting you comfortable with the positioning if you're not so good at sort of realigning up the design. Okay, so I'm going to line it up either side, and now we're going to start to do the embossing. So the embossing again is using number 2 tool in the starter kit, and we'll come in on this camera over here. And again, I'm going to use my Groovi Groovi card to focus the area. And I'm just going to start randomly in the middle. I wouldn't say start at the top or start at the bottom or left. I'm just going to go for it in the middle, because then our design will work from that. And as you get comfortable, you'll find that all of a sudden the pattern just starts to come to life. So whilst we're doing this, see if I can talk about other things whilst concentrating. There could be a lot more perforating going on than the first one. Okay, let me just get my eye in just to warm up and get me going again. See, it's not easy all the time. It's all about just getting that skill level. But it's, I don't know, this is, for me, the beauty of just the white on white. It really is. Okay, so deciding how close to get to that line. And we're going to infill each of the 4 butterfly wings without moving the parchment at all. So what have we got to tell you today? Let me have a think. I say I have a think, I've got it written on a piece of paper in front of me, but I don't want to look up and read in case I lose my count. Okay, so tomorrow is Wednesday, so that means another session at 10 o'clock in the shack with Barb, with those beautiful, beautiful kingfishers. They are one of my favourite designs in the Clarity range. And when you see, if you've been joining Barb in the shack, where Barb's been building up that beautiful, the colour is absolutely gorgeous. And then the introduction of those perfect pearls and mica powders, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I remember back in the day, and this is going back in the day, when they were launched as a stamp. And back then, I was just on the design team. And I was playing with these stamps, and I made loads and loads of samples. And I said to Bob, these are going to go mad. When you launch these are going to be so popular. And I remember watching the launch, and they did. They went crazy. I think it's just a beautiful illustrated design. It's a beautiful bird, and to be able to colour in and bring it to life is just magic. So that's what you've got tomorrow at 10 o'clock. And I'll be in the room as well, as usual. So if you've got any questions tomorrow about that, then ask away. Then at 7 o'clock tomorrow night on Facebook Live again, we've got a moment of clarity with the house that Barb built. And it's all about scene building and playing with the stamps that a lot of you illustrated along with Barbara back in the shack in the early days. But to have it in stamp form, I think my favourite bit, I think it is the house and the frame. The versatility of that frame is amazing. So we've got that on tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Again, I'll be in the room with you. So making sure you all behave. I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. I try and sort of keep up with all the comments, but sometimes the comments come in thick and fast. So that's Wednesday. Then on Thursday, on the craft store, formerly known as Hochanda, I am doing the Pergamano shows with 2 beautiful plates designed by the lovely Jc Davidson. So you know what we're doing here? I will show you before the end of the hour. What we're doing here, Jc has created two beautiful embossed patterned sampler plates. One based on the straight grid, which we're working with here, and one based on the diagonal grid. So if you're thinking, oh, I really can't count out, I keep making too many mistakes, then these are going to be a must-have. Absolutely gorgeous. And I'm going to show, I mean, Josie's very kindly prepared the demos for me. I've got to go through those tomorrow so that I can translate exactly what Josie's done. But I'll be using these basic grids with them as well. Because they're not drilled, they're just embossed dots. Then if you wanted to do the perforating, then this is where the basic grids really come into their play, because it will allow you to perforate around the design. So that's Thursday, so that's at 11 and 3 o'clock. So that's on Thursday. And then on Friday, it's back in the shack again at 10 o'clock with Barb. And I think that then brings that week to a close. It's amazing how the time goes, it really is. That wasn't too bad. I managed to nearly complete this without any boo-boos. Hope I haven't been a distraction for you with all my waffling on, stopping you from counting. You've probably all put me on mute so you can concentrate on your counting. So I reckon that's that one all done. And then we'll move down to the final one. And then what we'll do, we'll have a sip of coffee or a sip of tea and just allow people to catch up with us if you're following along at home. How are we doing for time? 1:45 already? Oh no. Okay. Easy peasy. It's not a rush, is it? It's all about, as Barb says, enjoying the journey and travelling gently throughout 2021. Okay, we're just going to go along. This is so, I'm going to say famous last words. I'm glad that I haven't made any boo-boos, but you know what? If I did, I know exactly how to correct them. So I reckon that is my little embossed dotted butterfly all completed. And there we go. Does yours look anything like that? It's amazing, isn't it, that we haven't moved the grid, but because of the design of the butterfly wings, it sort of looks different. The pattern looks different. Is it an optical illusion? See, for me, this pattern here, when I'm looking at it on screen, looks different to this pattern here. It's the same, because we haven't moved the plate and we've just gone along with it. See? Optical illusion. Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. How are you getting on? Are you still dotting, counting? Shut up, Paul, stop talking, we keep losing count. It can be. I know it probably drive me up the wall if someone was talking while I'm trying to count, if I'm new to it. But again, you have got that option to mute while you're counting. And obviously you can watch this later again on YouTube once we upload it to the Clarity Stamp YouTube channel. And you can go back and see all the previous episodes, all the Shack episodes as well. And there's lots of tutorials on that Barbara's done over the years as well, using the jelly plate, the stamps, gilding plate. It's just like a mass library. So you can always check out our fantastic YouTube channel as well. So I know we're going to run out of time, so I'll talk about the process of, or I'd say talk about, you've seen how I then go in and perforate in between, but I really wanted to show you some Picot cutting. And for those that are new to it, for me, the little crosses are a really good way of learning. And it doesn't matter what scissors you've got, whether you've got the exclusive, the Picot cutters or the ring lock, it's the same process and it's the same technique in a way. You've just got to get comfortable with how you hold it. Now, back in the day, I remember, well, I say back in the day, when Barbara and I first started with the Groovi system and we were looking at Picot cutting, at that point we was only aware that there was these exclusive scissors available, which are really, really nice. They've got that beautiful curved point to them, very sharp, and the key part of them being sharp is the tips. They're not scissors for cutting your paper. They're for doing Picot cutting, and you can really see the tips, okay, of that. And the key part with the scissors is the tip. It's that tiny little point just down there that's doing all the work. All of the rest of the scissors is really redundant, and it's the same with the Picot cutters. See, they don't have such a long blade, but look at the point on those, okay. And then again with the ring lock scissors, it's all about just the lower point of those scissors that's doing all the work. So when Barbara and I were first watching, we was watching tutorials and stuff like that on how to do it, and it was that the traditional way of doing it is that you'd hold the scissors with the points going down, or as the fork position, as I call it, fork with it going down, and then spoon with it going up. Okay, because if you think a spoon, you'd pick up your food, and you had to go in with the two fingers at the top, and it was all about going in, down, holding the scissors as flat as possible to the surface, and then as you snipped, you twisted. Okay, now for me, I found that I could do it and I could work with these scissors perfectly well, but after a while my arm, I was doing this, I was going in, down, and like this arm was starting to get muscles and the other one wasn't doing anything, because it was sort of, I was just moving my arm too much. And it's all in sort of like the wrist action and how you hold it. And then when we purchased Pergamano, we then discovered that there was other tools, scissors available. And the likes of Linda Williams and Tina Cox, Jc Davidson, all the other people that have been doing it for years, and said, basically, you've just got to get comfortable with your scissors. And over a period of time, your scissors will get comfortable with you. I know, for example, if I was to pick up somebody else's scissors, they wouldn't feel the same. Even though they're exactly the same, they wouldn't feel the same. I'd have to sort of basically retrain the scissors. But you get comfortable with how to hold them. As long as you follow the same techniques, then again, people have different ways of doing it. So for me, and I know Barb does the same, so when Barb's using the exclusive scissors, she has them in the spoon position, okay, and she comes in from underneath with her finger and thumb, and then she uses these fingers to sort of like balance. And then you'll often see Barb, if she's doing it on the flat, she'll rest on this finger. But both Barb and myself, we learn by holding it in our hands. So again, Barb, often you'll see Barb doing it and holding it in her hand while she's working. For me, personally, I prefer, say, the ring lock if I'm doing a lot, because it's got a larger aperture for my chunkier fingers. And I prefer to work on the flat. I also have mine in the spoon position, okay, and I also come in from behind. So the way I sort of imagine it is as if I'm playing the recorder. Some people will come in from the top and hold it. some will come in from the top with the down position. It's just getting used to and feeling comfortable with them. They're like an extension to your fingers after a while, and soon you'll sort of just, you'll pick it up and you're going, you won't even think about how you're holding the scissors because you know that it works for you. For me, it took me 6 months to perfect it, but I've been on workshops where I've seen people pick it up instantly. So don't get disheartened if you think, oh, it looks like the dog's chewed through my piece of parchment. That was exactly what happened to me. So if I take my little practice piece that we looked at earlier that I did all my perforations on, the key to it is when you're working with the scissors, if we look at this area here, for example, this series of 4 dots, the body of the scissors or the length of the scissors need to be over the area in which it's going to drop out. And when I say drop out, we want to create a little cross. Okay, so if you imagine if we was to create a little cross just with a knife, it's this bit here in the middle that's going to drop out. So I'm going to hold my scissors from underneath, and it really, I'm resting on my mat because my hand feels more comfortable, and all I'm going to do, really is just the tip of those scissors going in to that hole. If I go in too far, let me just show you, if I go in too far, what happens is that the blade cuts the parchment. Okay, so that means now I've got no picot cut. So if I was to repeat that process and just push in, all it's doing, the blade is just cutting away the parchment to create a horrible hole. Okay, that's not a cross. So the idea is I'm going to go onto this one here, so I'm over the waist. Because for me personally, because I've got the curve going up, I don't need to bring my hand down anymore, and it's just a gentle squeeze of the scissors, and as you squeeze you'll see it form a tip. And then some people will twist and then do the final snip. I twist towards me, some people twist away, and some people don't twist at all. There's a song there somewhere. And then I'm going to turn it round. I'm going into the top 2 holes again, leaning over that waist, and then squeeze. Turn it around, make sure I'm going back in the right one, and snip again. And then I'm going around to the final one, and then snip. So can you see the difference now? This was where I put too much pressure on the scissors, and it's just created, I mean, it's created a type of cross, but it's not a cross, it's just more of a hole with a cross. Okay, whereas this one, we've got a perfect little picot cut cross. Picot cut cross. Easy for me to say. And what I tend to do, and I know a lot of the trad parters out there, is because their hand's comfortable, they'll go in one direction first. Okay, and you go down and you turn your work so it's comfortable for you. Where did I just do those 2 lines? I shouldn't have looked up. There we go. So again, it's just that in, squeeze and snip. And again, if you go in too far, then you won't get such a nice cross. And now I'm going to go into the 3rd side. So for me, this was how I really learned how to hold my scissors and how to get that little picot cut, because it's more forgiving. And then we're going to do the final little snip on the 4th side of the box. Okay, give it a little tap, just obviously missed that little bit just there. Where was it? What side was it? There we go. So now I've got a little row of crosses, and for me it's all about practicing. Okay, now when you buy the scissors, the lovely Linda Williams, so when it comes to you, it comes in a nice package just like this. Okay, you get a piece of Picot foam, and you also get a beautiful handy guide to parchment cutting by the super Linda Williams. And what Linda does, she explains about the scissors, she explains about cutting along the edge of a straight line, and then she gives you that step-by-step guide on how to cut through with a cross. So when you get the scissors, this is a fantastic guide that you can sort of just keep to one side, especially if you're new as well, because it's all about sort of getting that, you're warming your hand up really. What I might try and do, I'm going to try and come in, I know we're really close on time, but I'm going to see if I can come in a little bit closer on the overhead. Now to do that, I've just got to climb on the table. So if you hear a crash and a bang, send Jilly in, because Jilly will have to pick me up off the floor because my camera's up fairly high. So let's see if I can come in a little bit closer. Oh, no, helps if I go to the overhead camera. He says reaching right in front. Okay, so I'm on the overhead. See if I can zoom in a little bit closer. Right, scarily close now. Okay. So if I centralise this one here, see, even close up it doesn't look too bad, does it? Sometimes you come in, especially when you're on camera and you come in really close. But I mean, look how rubbish that one. I mean, it's still a square of sorts. Okay, so the tip of the scissors are just gonna, let me just calm down a little bit. There we go. Just gonna refocus myself. So it's the tip of the scissors go in, and it's just a little squeeze, and I tilt it slightly towards me as I do that final snip. Okay, and I'm just going all in the same direction first because that's what I feel comfortable with. Now I'm going to turn it this way, and then going into side number 2 there. Hopefully this makes it stand out a little bit more. Now I'm going to turn it again. So turn your work, because my hand is perfectly comfortable resting on the mat. Okay, then you'll see it, and you get that little snip. Okay, and then final one just there, and then the final, this is where the magic happens for me, when you do that fourth side and it just falls away from it. So for me, if you want to give Picot cutting a go, then practice little crosses. Right, we'll do the reveal now. You can see it now because it's just popped up. So there we go. So you can see, has it done it? There we go. Yes, that one there is just, so let's hit that side. There we go. So obviously close up, let me get rid of that from underneath. There we go, you can see that. So again, you've got those little crosses. Some of them are better than others, but from a distance, in the whole scheme of things, the only one that really blaringly stands out for me, looking a little bit dodge, is that one there. okay, but all the others, they look great. So when you then, let me bring in the one on the overhead on this one now that I've zoomed in a little bit. When you look at that, in the whole scheme of things, I mean, no one's really going to go in that close to your butterfly and say, oh, you missed a bit there. Although Julia did tell me this morning I'd forgot to cut some of them. But when you forget to cut them, it jumps out. So it's all about, again, just building up that confidence. You haven't got to cut the outsides of the butterfly. Just practice on a piece. And although I've done it on the sort of like really on the overhead now, although I've practiced in the middle, there's all this space that you can practice on, okay? And then you can make little notes. So you can say, right, this hole here with a little arrow, scissors went in too far. This one here, I didn't complete all 4 corners. So use this as your notes and your practice, and then just build it up. Okay, so what we've done today is we've looked at how we can use those basic grids to sort of infill with patterns, and you've got the options, and just having a go with the scissors. And it doesn't matter what ones you've gone for. If you're new to it, start off with the exclusive one. Barbara swears by them. I use them as well, but if I'm doing a lot, I prefer the ring lock because they're more comfortable on my hands. So as you get confidence, you may think, all right, okay, I'm happy with these. Maybe I want to try the next level up. So again, you've got those choices. And it's all about, there's no pressure. There really isn't. Some people will get it straight away, and some people, me included, 6 months. Okay, and it just looked as if I kept tearing the paper. But perseverance, and although you're sort of putting pressure on yourself, you're not. You're putting pressure on because you want to learn, you want to achieve something. So it's all about just nobody's watching, everyone's watching me, no one's watching at home. So just have a go. Put it onto Groovi Worldwide, on Clarity Worldwide if you're not sure. Ask the questions. Don't be ashamed or afraid to show what you've done if you think, oh no, this isn't right. It may be perfect. We're always, as Barbara says, we're always critical of ourselves way too much. So it's all about just don't be hard on yourself, basically. Enjoy it, play, experiment, take a piece of parchment, put loads of holes in it, cut out loads of holes, and just, that's where you'll learn about the different things. Now, before we go, I really want to show off these brand new plates I said I was going to do. So these are beautiful design plates. It may be a bit too fine for I'm going to have to bring it on this camera. Look at these. These are the Embossed Dot Samplers from Jc Davidson, which I'll be launching on the craft store, formerly known as Hochanda, on Thursday at 11 o'clock and 3 o'clock. So you've got all these gorgeous patterns, no counting required whatsoever. Okay, so each one, this is the straight grid. So works fantastically with the basic. Look, even that is diagonal, but it's straight. Spooky. And then we've got the, the diagonal as well. Beautiful, beautiful designs. And again, I mean, look at this one, the beaded one. Do that in a frame. And don't think just because they're that size, you're only restricted for your small piece. You can't. You can go big. You can extend them, because that's the beauty of the parchment system and Jc's designs. So I hope you can join me. And again, thank you to Jc for the fantastic demos that she's got lined up for us. I hope you've enjoyed today's session. Don't forget, you can watch it again on YouTube if you think, oh, what did he say about this? What did he say about that? And then next week, we're going to carry on. So maybe by next week, if you can perforate within, have a go at the Picot cutting if you want on the inside. And then we'll look at perforating freestyle around the outside, because that, again, we're going round in curves, so it's better on the eye than going in a straight line. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Don't forget, Barb's back tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the shack with those beautiful kingfishers. And I will see you on Thursday, And if I don't see you on Thursday, then I'll see you on Tuesday. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.